And welcome to another edition of Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso, and I'm having a bad speaking day, bad reading day, so we'll see if I can get through this. This is take 4. If you like this video, please push like and share it with your family, friends, neighbors, enemies, etc. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you're not a member of this channel, check it out. Corrupt staff. Staff who lie on inmates. It's a big problem in prisons, especially in the Bureau of Prisons. I've said that last week. I've talked about staff bringing in contraband. More recently at FCI Terre Haute, a lady by the name of Kelsheimer, that was her last name, and there will be another story about that soon. Kelsheimer's bringing in contraband, and this is nothing new. When I was in the Butner Prison Complex from 2007 to 2012, I'm going to say about 7 staff members a year were walked off that complex, either in handcuffs or asked to leave or escorted out for either engaging in inappropriate relationship with inmates or bringing in contraband. But I can't recall, and I'm sure it's happened, of staff who falsified federal documents, being arrested, walked off, or fired. I'm sure it's happened. This story is about a food service worker, a staff member, who did both. And let me go ahead and get into this. Now, let me say, at this time in, I think it was April 2012, in the aftermath of the Trayvon Martin tragedy, I wrote an article titled, Sean Hannity Radicalizes Federal Inmates. And the gist of the article was that a lot of guys listen to Sean Hannity, black and white, in that prison, and we discussed things Hannity would say later. And Hannity was really inflaming people by playing the new Black Panther Party, Trayvon Martin stuff. Anyway, I interviewed inmates over their feelings about Sean Hannity. That article never made it out of the institution. It was stopped, rejected as I sent it out via core links, an email to a person who was going to post it on my blogs and send it to the media. They stopped it and locked me up and used that as an excuse to get rid of me. They said I was trying to start a race riot or something crazy. While I was in the hole, I met several inmates who had officers that lied on them. This story is about one. Let me go ahead and read this. Prison guard attempts to order hit on inmate, arrest on other charges. A correctional officer arrested for bringing contraband into a federal prison also attempted to have an inmate assaulted. On June 1st, 2012, Officer Dowe, D-O-W-E, a food service supervisor employed at the Federal Correctional Complex, Federal Correctional Institution, FCI 2 in Butner, North Carolina, was arrested by federal authorities as he attempted to bring marijuana and contraband cigarettes into the facility, a crime that was reported in the local and I believe national news. Not known at the time, however, is that in early May, Dowe allegedly attempted to have inmate Dominic Javier McDonald assaulted by other inmates over a dispute that stemmed from the disgraced prison guard's illegal activity. I'm going to go on. According to McDonald, a native of Charlotte, North Carolina, who goes by the nickname Bombay, it all started back in June of 2012 when he worked in the kitchen at FCI 2. This is Dowe. Quote, this is McDonald. Dowe, quote, Dowe asked me could I make some money with him by selling weed and cigarettes that he was bringing in, Bombay wrote in a statement exclusively for this story. I had to wait, though, because he had so many dudes working for him already. In February of 2012, Bombay was busted by prison staff for manufacturing homemade intoxicants, an infraction that landed him in the special housing unit, or SHU. After I was released from the hole a month later, Bombay writes, I got my job back in the kitchen. I approached Dowe and asked him what's up with the drugs and cigarettes. He told me nothing and said people was telling him not to fuck with me because they was Crips and I be a Blood, so they put dirt on me and say I was snitching and shit. So I later got into it with the Crips over what they say, and Dowe put a hit on me because of all this. On May 9th, near the education department, at least 2 inmates assaulted a Hispanic inmate who was Bombay's co-worker and had a last name very close to him. Where is this? Oh. Later that day, this is Bombay. Later that day, after the Mexican was assaulted, I went to work and I got into an argument with Dowe, and he said I threatened him, so he sent me to the lieutenant's office. I never threatened him. He lied and falsified an incident report to have me locked up in the SHU. Okay, so an incident report, infraction, disciplinary, staff writes them up in the body of the incident report, box 11, I believe. They have to describe what the inmate did. If Dowe said this inmate threatened me, Bombay threatened me, and he did not, this is a lie. The incident report is a federal document. Once Dowe writes it, he signs it. He has now committed perjury, fraud, whatever. Let me keep going. In the lieutenant's office, this is when this comes the day that the Dowe was arrested. In the lieutenant's office, Bombay recalls members of the Special Investigation Supervisors, SIS, questioned him about the incident report with Dowe. I told them to check the cameras and they could see I didn't threaten him. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the day of that Dowe sent him to the hole. Not only did SIS believe Bombay's version of the story, he said, or he wrote, but they informed him that they had credible information that Dowe put a hit on him. Quote, "That's when I found out the Mexican who got hit was supposed to be me," Bombay wrote. "It was an accident. They hit the wrong dude because we both have the same last names that are close, and we worked together and they got it wrong. So SIS had to lock me up in the hole for my own safety." Indeed, a detention order dated the same day reveals that Dominic McDonald was placed in special housing unit for his own protection. But the story didn't end there. On Saturday, June the 2nd, live rounds of ammunition was found within Butner FCI 2, within the prison, within the complex, right outside in front of the housing unit. At that point, the institution went on lockdown for some days. And during that time, SIS went around, got everybody out of their cell, and asked, "Do you know anything about these bullets or bullet?" It was one or more. I forgot what it was. I think it was a 22 shell or 22 bullet. Okay, so after the prison went on lockdown, Bombay was questioned, and he writes, "SIS told me, took me out of the cell and told me that the bullets had been for me. They were saying that Dowe brought them in and had a zip gun and they was going to shoot me." Now, I must say, this was never proven, and I do not know if that is true. What I do know is that Dowe was arrested on a conspiracy to distribute, I think, marijuana and cigarettes. I believe it was a conspiracy, DOWE. You guys can look it up. I did not. He was an idiot. Everybody in the prison, so many people in that prison knew what that kitchen cop was doing. Note to any correctional staff who are going to be dirty, don't let a bunch of inmates know. Inmates have nothing to do but talk. Very rare will one inmate hold a secret, and that includes me. You're always going to tell a friend or close friend for whatever reason, and that person tells somebody, and so on. But that's really not the point here. The point is that there are a lot of corrupt staff, and staff should be held to a higher standard than the average Joe. There should be enhancements for their crime, for bringing in drugs, for falsifying incident reports, for falsifying any documents, forging any document. And this is part of criminal justice reform. It's got to start at the top with staff. There has to be more held accountable. And contraband, we're always going to have contraband brought into our prisons, but that's introduction into a facility, a secure facility that has a staff member introducing contraband into it. That staff member should be hit with the harshest of harsh penalty. And I don't care if it's just cigarettes. That will deter future staff. That really would deter. People say that the death penalty does not deter people from committing murder, and I do agree, although I agree with the death penalty. But in this case, if it's put out there and everybody knows that it's mandatory sentence, mandatory minimums, I'm not against those either, by the way, Just needs to be less time. If staff knew, there would be less contraband introduced into facilities throughout this great nation. I wasn't involved in the contraband game at all at FCI too. I was involved in taking some illegal pills, opiates they got from Medline, but I wasn't involved in any kind of hustles, cigarettes, or nothing, no drugs, nothing like that. Prior to that institution, I was at Butner FMC, and I did have a guard approach me hours after I was in that facility, days I should say, maybe a week, I don't know, and approached me and asked me if I wanted cigarettes, we can work something out. And I did, and I actually kept my mouth shut. I didn't tell a person, and it worked fine. So there's a story there about an officer who forged an incident report, who gets busted for contraband, and he tried to have the inmate assaulted. The guys who did it later, I talked to them in the rec cage, and they said they got the wrong guy. It was for Bombay. So anyway, thought I'd throw that one out there. I started off today getting ready to do some criminal justice reform stuff, and I'll be doing that shortly. Take care. Well, can't get it.